Welcome to How to Communicate with Mutual Understanding. 3 rules. I think we're going to sneak a fourth one in there to building relationship. Communication really is the most important and least taught art form. When we get ready to go out into the world, our parents simply say, "Good luck, I wish you well," and we are expected to understand things that really come not so easily to us. Like, how do we be truthful and tactful? How do we express our emotional needs in an adult way? How do we create common ground with people we don't already know from childhood? How do we be both professional and authentic when we express ourselves? And how do we get our point across to people of different perspectives and backgrounds? This is really a big deal. So don't be hard on yourself when you stumble over communication snafus, when you get into arguments, when you walk away from people that later you wish you hadn't. It's a very, very common sort of situation. And until you learn, you simply don't know. This is the place you start to learn. The fact is that when we come in, we think that words we say should be sufficient. They should just be understood. But there's so much underneath words, so much emotion and meaning. Now, what happens is we make interpretations, right? We interpret things based on our past, on things we've been through, on things we expect. So someone may say to you, "You're crazy," and you may get very upset because your background, one of your parents had mental illness, and so it's not funny at all to you. Whereas say that to somebody else and they go, I'm nuts," and they enjoy it because there is no connection, no emotional connection to the idea of actually being crazy. And then what happens when somebody has that situation is they don't understand, they misunderstand, take it personally, and they get very offended. "What did you say to me? How could you say that to me? That's ridiculous. Oh, you're a terrible person," right? I know you've experienced this. And that brings assumptions that are ongoing. "Oh my God, you can see it in offices everywhere. She's terrible. Do you know what she said to me?" Never giving that person another opportunity to explain what was truly going on. How do we begin to avoid this? Well, it's not that we have to stop talking to people. It's that we have to expand our understanding of what happens with communication. And in order to expand that, we have to become a little curious. Because really, in a way, we are all emotionally alien to one another, aren't we? Yeah. We come up against somebody who is a type of person we've never met before. Maybe you've never met somebody who has a serious mental illness. Maybe you've never met somebody who is in a wheelchair. Maybe you've never met someone who was raised on a farm and you're a city person. We are all in a way emotionally alien to one another. However, if we just extend a little bit of curiosity and let the other person explain their perspective, their worldview to us, we create an enormous yes that allows us to expand in our relationships with other people. So, rule number 1 is ask. If you hear something and it really upsets you, you really need to ask. You need to say, "You know what? I'm feeling upset right now. When you said what you said, here's what I heard, and that upset me. Is that what you meant?" Find out if that's what they meant. Because if it isn't, you can have a very interesting conversation about different perspectives. If it is what they meant, you can take the conversation deeper. Either way, you're not stuck in reactionary sorts of modes with each other, which cannot lead anywhere. Rule number 2 is take care of yourself. If you are absolutely infuriated, you're in the middle of an argument, you really can't get out of it, you're just too overwhelmed, you are allowed to ask for time to cool down. You are allowed to say that you're willing to discuss this, but not now, maybe later. And that's because your nervous system is overloaded. You cannot access the calm part of your brain when you're that upset. It's simply not possible. So give yourself the time. Give those interpretations and assumptions a break, and you will really thank yourself, and the other person will too. Now, rule number 3 is to know your goal. Know what it is you really want from that conversation. Sometimes you can't plan that way. Conversations will just happen sometimes, and boom, you're in the middle of an argument or the middle of a disagreement or the middle of something. However, if you know as a general rule that what you want is to have mutual understanding, if it's at all possible, you are then really cooking with gas, because then you are going to be reaching for something beyond getting your own back, beyond revenge. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. You can get to that place where you can say, we may not agree, but we are okay. And that's fantastic. So it's going to be a choice for you of quality over win or lose. Win or lose is very tempting, but quality is really where it's at, because it allows you to keep growing as a person and to keep growing your relationships and not stopping them prematurely. So be in inquiry with somebody about what they mean and what they're saying. Be curious about who they are, and invite them to be curious about you and inquisitive about you as well. Take ownership of your emotions. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. You are self-preserving, walking away if you need to for just a little while. Make sure you're putting kindness first before revenge, and make sure that you are being as self-aware as you can be. Communication truly is an art form. So, number 1, ask. Number 2, make sure you are taking care of yourself. Number 3, know your goal. And number 4, try to understand and be understood. Thanks for joining me.